Hey guys, welcome to the first video on my channel. This is where I'm going to be posting many series. Each series is going to be focused on a specific plugin development, and this specific series to begin with, it's going to be a money/economy plugin. Think of it as essentially a better version of the balance in essentials that you have when you do /bal. We're going to create, however, our own eco that's much better. It's going to have items in game called money notes that you can withdraw from your balance and have a physical money note, and you can use that money to basically receive the money that's valued in the money note, and so on and so on. Hey guys, I just want to make a really quick disclaimer before we continue. I am by no means a professional Spigot developer. I just have a fairly decent background, I should say, in Java. And therefore, having been a kid growing up playing Minecraft, I just thought that I'll dive into Spigot development and basically just build things for fun. So with that being said, let's move on to the rest of the video. Alright, so one last thing to mention before we dive into the video itself. This series is going to assume that everyone knows the very basics of Spigot development. This is basically creating a fresh project, having an unenable, undisable, knowledge on creating commands at the very lowest, creating events, listeners, the very basics, so that when I actually create these things, I don't have to be explaining step by step what each thing means, if that makes sense. So now that we have these things laid out, we can finally get into the first episode of this series. Alright guys, let's go ahead and create our project. So we're gonna go File, New, Project, and we're going to name it Money. Let's just name it Money. You guys can name it anything, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's just a name. We're gonna click Java. Now with the build system, guys, we're gonna go ahead and use Gradle. Gradle is much faster than Maven, so if you guys want to follow me, I suggest using Gradle, and I'll show you how to set up your environment, importing your dependencies from Spigot, etc. JDK, make sure that you're using Java 8. So you click download, you go to versions and do 1.8 and download that from the internet, and then you choose 1.8. Groovy, advanced, go ahead and just change this to me dot and then whatever your name is. So let's do Meeks and keep that the same as the name, and we can go ahead and go ahead and do this. All right, so we see we have our Gradle build here. What we want to do is, I have a website over here. I'll put a link to this in the description. All right guys, sorry about that, I got a phone call just then, but we're back, and we were at the Gradle build, and this is where we just provide the dependencies for Spigot. This is going to be linked in the description for the Gradle. We're just going to put these two links in the repositories section, and then the dependency, we're going to add this line of code here, also provided in the description. If you're using Maven, then I'm going to provide you with this link. It's going to have the dependency here. You just copy this and you paste it into your Maven dependency list, and you should be set for both Maven and Gradle after you edit or change within the files respectively. Sorry about that. This icon will appear. This is how it looks for Gradle. You'll see something similar for Maven. It should have an M, and it just says that you gotta press this to load the changes that you just made within the file. We're gonna do that, and then it's gonna create our plugin folders here for Spigot. We're gonna have a main class, and everything's gonna be set. All right, so now that we have our main class, we're gonna go ahead and remove this. because this is not what we need for plugin or in Spigot. What we gotta do is we're gonna implement Java plugin, and we're gonna do extends, my bad. And now that we extend that, we're gonna do override and add our onEnable method, and we're gonna leave it like that for now. So this episode, as you can see in the title, we're going to be working on the common utils that we're going to be using. It's going to be a class that has a list of methods that's going to be useful when throughout the creation of this plugin. So it's going to be called the utils because just methods that's going to be helpful in the long run, and we're not going to be able to gonna make it so that we don't have to rewrite a lot of code that we're gonna be in need of. All right, so now that we have our onEnable, what I'm gonna do is create a private variable of our main plugin. We're gonna call it plugin, and then we're gonna do plugin is equal this within our onEnable, so that when the server loads and it loads our plugin, it's gonna create an instance of our plugin here. So now that we have that, we're gonna just leave this file like this for now, and we're gonna go over here, create a new package, and we're gonna call this utils. Like I said, this is gonna be where we create a class that's gonna contain a list of methods that we're gonna be using throughout the creation of this plugin. So we're gonna call this utils. The first method that I'm gonna be creating is a method where we can easily create an item stack. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna import this from bucket, and then we're gonna do createItem, and it's gonna take a couple of parameters. So first thing, we're gonna do material. So we're gonna provide the material that we want to make for the item stack. Then we're gonna do a string for the display name. Then we're gonna do the amount, you know, whether we want one or how many of that item, doesn't matter. We're gonna have that there. Then we're gonna have another integer for the data, or this is basically like you know how sorting items in game have like this wool, right? It has all the same material, but it has different a different like ID. So this data is gonna be the ID for those blocks in game that refer to the same material but has different IDs. So that's what that is. And then we're gonna do the law, and we're gonna do oops, the other way around. So if you guys don't know what this is basically just a number of arguments of this type, which is string. So we can have a different number of arguments of this specific type of string. So if you guys don't know about it, you can just research it. It's called I believe it's called variable arguments. You can just look it up and just have an idea of what it is exactly. But now within the method, we're going to do item stack. Oh, I missed the capitalization of the S. So we're gonna do item stack item. We're gonna do new item stack, and then we're gonna put the material, pass the material, pass the amount, and pass the ID, which is of short, and we gotta explicitly cast that, and then we end that line. What we're gonna do next is get the item meta. This is the meta for the item. We're gonna call this meta, I guess, and then item.get item meta. Then we're gonna do meta.set display name. Get the we're gonna pass the display name. Then we're gonna do meta.set low, and then we're gonna do something here. It's gonna do color list list.new array list, and then we're gonna do low, and we're gonna come back to this method. It's gonna be another method within this class that's gonna make it easy for us to add color, the bucket chat color to text or strings. And then the last thing, we're gonna do item.set item meta and do meta. Then we're gonna do return item. Next, let's go ahead and do more. Not this one, we're not gonna import. We're gonna create a method called color. And with this method now, we're just gonna change this. This is not a string, list of strings. This is gonna be a string. We're gonna remove this. Sorry about that. We're gonna have a message. It's gonna be a message that we want to color code, and basically we're gonna do return the normal chat color if you're accustomed to doing this. Translate. We're gonna put the and symbol, and then we're gonna do the message, and then we're gonna end that. So now with this, we're gonna have different versions of the createItem method. This is how we want to like create an item stack. If we want to have one where it's always going to be like one item, then we don't have to provide an amount. Just basically just depending on what we want to do, we can use different versions of the method. Hopefully that makes sense. So with that, what we want to do is basically creating we're gonna call it has to be the same name. That's how it works, obviously, if you guys don't know. And then we're just gonna have different parameters. So we're gonna have one where we just provide the material that's always needed, and then we're gonna have a string. We're gonna have the display name, and we're just gonna have the low. Now if we use this method, you can see we're missing two things: the amount and the ID for the item. So if we use this item, we're gonna just assume that the amount is 1. So we're gonna do return. We're gonna call this method within this method, and then we're gonna provide the parameters. So with this one, we're gonna provide material, display name, and then the amount, which is 1, and then we're just gonna assume that this item that we're creating with this method does not have a ID. So by default, that's gonna be 1, and then we pass the low. The next thing is we're gonna basically just copy this same thing, just mean we're gonna have the amount, but we're not gonna have the ID. So with this, we're gonna have the amount here, and we're gonna assume again the ID, it has no ID, and we're gonna just put 0 to represent that. The next thing that we're gonna create is the opposite of this color method. We're gonna do string. We're gonna call this strip color. We're gonna have a string, and we're gonna have the message, and then we're gonna do return chat color dot strip color message. Next, so this method is giving us an error because we're passing a list, and right now we only have a color that deals with a string. So we're gonna do similar to what we did with the createItem. We're gonna create another version of this color method, and we're gonna have a list now, color, and now we're gonna have a list of strings, messages, and then a chat color. So now we're gonna do, oops, okay, first we're gonna do this one, which is without the chat color, and then we're just gonna do return messages dot, and then we're gonna stream it, and then we're gonna map so that it does this on each string in the list. And we're gonna do, well, we're gonna do utils color dot select to list, and there we go. So basically, oh, I just hit my mic, sorry about that. So we're gonna have the messages, which is a list of string. We're gonna stream, which allows us to use map, the map function, which allows us to run a function or a method on each item in the list, which is color. So we're gonna individually run this force color method on each string in the list, and it's gonna collect it into and return it as a list with a new list of each color-coded message. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, it's not gonna be completely beginner friendly. You have to have a decent background in Java. If not, just go ahead and write this, and you get it eventually by looking up different things on your own time. So next, we're gonna create a balance. We're gonna create a public, my bad. We're gonna create a, why is it, this shouldn't be, let's not do private, let's change that, guys. All right, so now that we changed that, we can go ahead and type public static string. We're gonna do a formatted balance. This is gonna take an integer, the amount, and this is basically when we're trying to like create the item, the money note in game, the item stack that's gonna be representing a money note. We don't want it so that the number displayed on in the item stack like this. See, that's very hard to distinguish when we have a lot of zeros or a lot of numbers. So instead, what we want to put on the item stack is a formatted version of the number or the amount that has commas. So with this, what we want to do, we want to create a number format object, and with that we can do we can use it to format our amount. So we're gonna do return number format dot format and the amount. Next, we're gonna create a method that doesn't return anything, and it's gonna do print player offline. Let's call it player offline. It's gonna be a method that we use in our commands. If we're trying to pay someone something in game, like some money, if that player is offline, we're gonna just use this method so that we don't retype code for each command that might need this. Let's go ahead and create the last one. This is not going to be used in this video, but later on when we're dealing with the money notes, we're going to need a method like this. Let's just do public static item stack, and we're going to call this update item stack. So now when we have a money note in game, and let's have a paper. Let's say this is the money note. When we right click it, we're gonna consume the money note, and it's gonna add that balance to that's specified on the money note to our balance. But when we right click it, we need a method that we can call to easily just update the amount from the item stack. So if we have a stack of 3, then when we right click one or the stack, it's gonna update it to 2, and so on as we keep right clicking. So we're gonna need the item stack. We're gonna pass the item stack in, and then we're gonna do if the item stack dot get amount is equal to 1. What does that mean? It means when we consume it, it's gonna return it's not null in Minecraft, it's actually air whenever you have nothing in your inventory. So the item stack is going to be updated to item stack of material air. Else, if it's not that, the amount of the item stack is greater than 1, so we just minus it. So we do int new amount is equal to item stack dot get amount, and then we minus 1. I don't know why I put these there. So now we have that, and now we just gotta update the item stacks amount by using the set method, and we do new amount, and then we return item stack. We used the wrong the wrong method, so just change that really quick, and then that should be it. So hopefully you guys followed me through this. Like I said, this is the first video. Hopefully I'm explaining everything. If you guys have any questions, you can leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you ASAP. Alright guys, that's gonna be it basically for the first episode, where we worked on the common utils that we're gonna be using for the rest of the plugin. Really quick before we end this, the plugin is gonna have a command called withdraw, which allows you to withdraw a portion of your balance. And when we withdraw, we're gonna have something like this. Now this, mind you, this does not work. I have a plugin that allows me to edit the display name and the lows to the item in game. We're going to have it's called a money note. It says right click, and then it has a value. It says the value of the money note, which is whatever you withdraw, and then it's gonna have the signer, which is whoever withdrew the money note. So that's what we're gonna be working towards at some point in the video, in addition to the normal economy / balance aspect of the plugin. So with that being said, thank you for making it to the end, and I hope you come back to the second episode. All right guys, see you then.